Welcome back, Skigglers, for another episode of the Skids and Giggles podcast. I'm Pascal, and I'm joined by my co-host Bryson. How's it going tonight, buddy?
Hey, everybody. Hey, Pascal. I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, not bad. We are also joined by Vitor Büchli. How's it going, man?
I'm good. Thank you. How are you guys?
Splendid. I was browsing the social media the other day, and I saw some clips from the Freeride Fiesta, and there was this gnarly crash. And then as I was looking at the replay, I was like, that's weird. I know that guy. Who's that Vitor guy? Vitor Büchli. That's the Swiss guy. So I thought, well, why don't we talk to this guy? So here we are. What can you tell us about the Freeride Fiesta?
Yeah, that was a gnarly event, man. Everyone was crashing. When I was at the hospital, we were like 14 or 13 guys at the same time at the hospital. Just crashes left and right. Guys needing surgery, other people just needing stitches, just like me. Yeah, I got lucky on that one. Nothing happened. I just had to stitch up my eyelid, and yeah, it went down to the muscle. The surgeon had to stitch up the muscle and then the skin over it, and that was it. 6 days later, I was on my bike again.
Oh, nice. But how did you get to the hospital in Mexico? How did you even get to Freeride Fiesta?
Yeah, so I've known Johnny for a while now, for 1-2 years. We met at the flat-out days, the last flat-out days that happened in Slovenia, and we did some trains together on the first day. And then he had a crash. He couldn't ride the whole week, and then we were just there, and I just stayed with him, and we got to know each other. And then when I knew that he was the organizer from the Fiesta, I hit him up and asked, like, yo, dude, can I come? And he was like, yeah, for sure. Just come, and you can stay at mine, and we just ride. You just come to ride. And then I went. Yeah, beginning of January, we went there. I helped them just shape up a bit on the last day before the event, and then we rode. But I had some problems, and I was so down because I couldn't ride, and everyone else was riding. Everyone had done top to bottom runs, and I was still at the same jump at the metal ramp, stuck there. And every time I would get to the metal ramp, something else would happen, and I was just bummed out. And on the third day, and then the guy I was following the whole week, he said, yeah, let's just do a train. You come with me. If you feel good, you do it. If you don't feel good, you don't do it. And then another guy hopped in front of me. So I was bummed out because I didn't know, like, I've never ridden behind him, but I just shut my mind off and I said, okay, it doesn't matter, just do it. He's going to have the same speed as the guy in front. But I let a bit of space between me and him, and then I was trying to catch up. So all the jumps I already knew, I was squashing down and jumping a bit faster than normal. And then when I came up to the metal ramp, everyone always said, when you come off the shark fin, brake twice and then jump it softly. What did I do? I didn't brake. I was too fast. And I had tailwind, so off I went to the flat.
To the moon.
To the
Evil
moon.
Knievel.
Yeah, it was like 12 meters height and 20 to 22 meters distance to flat on my feet without the bike.
And how much further from the top of the landing was that?
I went to the last half meter of the transition, so like the part that's almost flat again that meets the bottom. I was at that point. Like, we went back to see where I landed. It was like really, like, you see the first impact is at the last half meter, and then I jump up again, and there's like another mark 2-3 meters on the flat.
Mm-hmm. And that's off your bike.
Off my bike, yeah. I think because I didn't jump softly, I tried to go with the jump, and it was it's a big ramp, but when you're coming at that speed, it just feels small. and it kicks you like super fast. The radius is, I kind of explain it. It's like it doesn't feel right for that size jump. And I wasn't the only one that said that. Everyone else was saying the same thing. But it kicks you like really fast. You expect it to kick, and then it just like whoop, and you're in the air. And on that moment, I knew if I held onto the bike, I would go over the bars and onto my head, and I like almost threw the bike to the back to compensate and go to my feet again. But it's like I can't explain how because like it's so fast. It's in a blink of an eye, you're just on the bottom.
But it was a pure correct reaction, right? So you're trying to like counter the forces that you couldn't control with a reaction that you tried to do.
Yeah, for sure. I couldn't have done a better job of the landing, I guess. But everything's just muscle memory, and it just happens. Like you can maybe train for that, but you can't like say I'm gonna do this and this. You guys know, like when you're in a car as a kid or like in a plane, you think like you start to think to yourself like, yeah, if it crashes, I can do this and then that, and then I'm gonna pull my legs up, and then I'm gonna go over the window or over the seat, and everything's gonna be all right. I'm just gonna roll it out. It's not like that. It just happens.
So this was the last day of practice, or when was that in compared to the event day?
Yeah, so we had like 3 days of riding on the course. That was the third day, and on the fourth day would have been the public day. So when people come to see the VIPs and everyone, there were like I think over 1,000 people that showed up to watch. And in between, because like the event is a whole week, in between we had one day that we went to a tequila factory, the main sponsor from the event, Fortaleza Tequila, to see how they create the tequila and where does it come from, and meet the people, and everything was really cool, really humble to see, because they still do everything by hand. It's like a premium quality product. They still do everything just like they did like 200 or 300 years ago.
It's traditional.
Yeah, it's traditional.
Yeah.
That's why it's also pricey.
Right.
And then on the third overall day of the event, we went to a volcano to ride on a sleeping volcano. That was really cool. We drove like over an hour. We were just driving up on these like back roads and off-road tracks, and we had like 2 or 3 trucks that were like for proper 4x4s, and the rest was just like rental cars and rental vans, and
Crazy.
just trying to get up that hill. But we managed to do it at the end, and after an hour driving up and then like another 20 minutes pushing the bikes up, we got like to this huge view, like just amazing viewpoint, and we rode at least 1.5 hours downhill.
Oh wow!
So
really cool.
This volcano, was it like a constant grade all the way
No,
down?
it was like a proper forest, so it had like normal tracks. It's cool because like it wasn't the highest point of the volcano, so you can go further up. You have to walk like another, I think 6 hours up or something, 5 hours, I don't know. And they used to have a mega avalanche from the top, like the 200-300 people just start at the same time, and then it was a chute, and after the chute it just funnels up into like a single track with a lot of dried up loam. So it's a different feeling because you have grip, but your wheels are like powder. Just like half of the wheel is in the earth, just digging in and trying to find some grip to ride. But yeah, it was also really cool to see.
But that was I guess at the back end of a very long series of a number of events that you've done over the last 6 months or so. What are some of the other highlights that you've done in that time?
I can put my finger on one event because every event had its ups and downs. Every event was completely different. Like if you take a Crankworks event, I was in Whistler last year for Crankworks. I did dual slalom, speed and style, RDH, whip off. Yeah, that was it. Yeah, 4 events.
That's plenty.
Yeah, and pump track, so 5 events. So like if you take a Crankworks event where there's over 300-400 athletes from different styles of mountain biking, and it's because you have so many events happening at the same time or parallel, or sometimes like you have pump track training in the morning and then dual slalom in the evening and then finals the next day, and you get to meet people, but everyone is in their niche, and just some athletes go to all the events, so you don't like get to meet people that well. And when you go like to Freeride Fiesta or you go to, I don't know, flat out days, you have so many riders just riding the same course, so you connect more with the people. So it's different. It's really different. I must say Whistler was up there because I've never been to Whistler before. So on top of going to like doing the full Crankworks for 10 days straight, I could also ride the Whistler bike park. So that was really cool for me. I couldn't do much more than A-Line and Dirt Merchant because everything else was just too much on the hands after a whole day of racing and training. And Dirt Merchant's just like buttery smooth. You can just let brakes open, death grip the whole way down, and you can do like 100 runs a day and you don't feel it. So yeah, but also I went to Norway to Huckfest. Got to ride there on the course. Also a really cool event overall, but we had some bad luck with the weather. The soil was really tacky and sometimes even wet, and we just didn't have the speed for the jumps on the first day. And then on the second day, some guys started clearing it, and some guys just casing the hell out of it and going OTB. And then the third day, it was actually good and starting like to roll properly, and we started doing tricks and everything. So yeah, it's every event was a roller coaster. I have to say it's been a, a roller coaster since I stopped working and started doing this full time.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, you mentioned it, right? This has been let's say the first 6 months or so of you doing this full time. You've gone let's say the more traditional Swiss way of completing your education like a proper Swiss person before you go full gas into your sports ambition. But you've completed your professional training like others, and since then you've gone full time on mountain biking. So what, apart from obviously this roller coaster of events, what else has changed since you've gone full time?
Whoa. Wait a second, Pascal. What was that sound?
I started using that sound whenever we wanted to say something about our social, or where you guys can find more information about the Skids and Giggles podcast. We are currently most active on our Instagram, where you can skid right into our DMs and follow along at Skids and Giggles, and you can find our website with all the relevant links and info under the URL skidsandgiggles.com. Also, if you guys like what we're doing and want to know what's up, just give us a follow on Spotify, hit subscribe on Apple Podcasts, or wherever else you listen to great podcasts. Finally, sharing episodes you enjoy on your socials or a heartfelt 5-star rating on your favorite platform goes a long way in helping us reach more cool people like you. Right on, with all of that out of the way, let's get back to the show.
Everything. Everything from mindset to my body to the way I view the world. Everything has changed from like being strict 6 to 3 working days and then training in the afternoon or just riding, to suddenly riding every day, just training, and sometimes training twice a day. CrossFit in the morning and mountain biking in the afternoon, or the other way around, or surfing in the morning, riding mountain bikes in the afternoon. Everything has changed. It's been a cool a cool experience, I have to say. It's everything that I expected and more.
Okay, but what? So yes, you obviously say everything has changed to the better in terms of your sport, of course. But before that, there's you have to do your working time, and then you have to get the training in. But I guess the benefit of that, it also learns you um, some kind of a discipline, and discipline is obviously something that you take with you for the rest of your life, right? So what are some of the other things that you took away from the experience of having to complete both your professional training and education and competing at a high level at the same time?
I didn't actually compete while I was in my apprenticeship. Like in the first year, I was still racing downhill, so I was doing up to 10, 14 races a year. I did some IXS Cups, some IXS European Cups. I was never super fast, but I was never slow. So I had this discipline of interval trainings and gym days after work. So I would work until 3 or 4 and then go training the rest of the day. So I already had that discipline from the downhill days, especially the training part of things, because it's hard when you get into it. When you first start racing, you feel like, cool, it feels great. I like to train, I like to go fast, and then you have to train off the bike. You have to go to the gym and train other muscle groups so you can be better on the bike. And to get that routine in, it's hard. But once you've had that feeling once, you know what the benefits are and that it's better if you do it. So you have to do it. And I always trained alone, and I didn't ride alone, but training in the gym, and I was mostly alone. So it's hard, like, to get that focus and the energy and to put time in. And then from the apprenticeship side of things, I did 4 years of the technical apprenticeship we call in Switzerland. It's the Lehre. I wasn't fortunate enough to do a sportsman apprenticeship. It's a Sportlerlehre, where you can combine sports and do the school and work and everything together. So they give you time off for training, and they give you time off for races or contests. I couldn't do it. I didn't find a firm that would do that, so I just did a normal 4 years, and working the whole day and then riding the rest.
What I find interesting with these kind of let's say education models, right, is that in many disciplines you have role models, and you have people that have done this avenue before, right? So you take cross country Olympic. There is a long history of Swiss Olympic mountain bikers that have completed exactly the transition that you've just described. If you look at any other Olympic sport, then there's plenty of other examples that have done that. If you look at Switzerland, in what you do today, let's call it a free racer or a free rider, but even in downhill, actually, there's not many in Switzerland that have completed that trajectory. So I'm just wondering who inspired you to keep working so hard and keep pushing towards a goal, and, as you say, all by yourself, more or less.
It's hard because, like, my main inspiration people, my main heroes, they're all from other countries. So, like, if you take let's just take a known example, Brandon Semenuk. Like, his riding style and his precision on the bike, if you take his life and compare it to a Swiss person, it's just not doable. Or let's say someone younger than Semenuk. Let's take Cade, for example, Cade Edwards. His path and what he did in the UK is also completely different than we could and will do in Switzerland. So even if I would just do the obligatory years of school and then drop out and don't learn anything, no one would support that. Nobody. Everyone would be against it, and everyone would say, no, you have to at least do like the basic thing, or learn a basic job, and then so you have something to fall back on. And on that way, I don't have like a proper inspiration, but as soon as I like Ramon Hunziker, he's for sure one, because he was one of the freeride pioneers in Switzerland, and he was able to make a living off it. And then after he stopped riding as a pro athlete, I'd say he still managed to build something in the sport, and keep on building tracks and building and doing organizing events. So he's for sure an influence. And as soon as I heard of Hoopy, that he was also able, like, okay, Hoopy is on a completely other level than I am in the sport, but still that a Swiss guy was able to finish the Lehre, and then after that he went full pro, and he's still doing it. I think it's his third year now for doing this full time. I'm not sure, but that was a boost in confidence that it's possible as a Swiss guy, because I feel like in Switzerland it's easy to get sponsored, but it's not easy to live off the sponsoring or live off the sport. Doesn't matter which way you go. If you work on the side as a guide or as a coach and do other things, then it's possible, because it's still like you're still biking for a living. But like to get a paid, like on the level like Hoopy does, it's hard. He's the only one. So.
But he's a trailblazer, right? So you see, certainly here in Zurich where I live, and you see the inspiration, and there's so many kids now coming after him, so many other kids that get into the sport, not necessarily the same discipline, but they see him at events, they see him around town, they see him in the skate park, and they're inspired, and as you say, right, so they say like, okay, wow, it is actually possible, even as a Swiss person, and I think that is already an important thing to show for teenagers and people that are coming up, and be it in a free ride discipline or in any other discipline that is, let's say, a bit more untraditional and outside of the traditional competition formats.
Yeah, for sure. As well, because I mean, what's free ride? Everyone will tell you a different answer. There's not like it's not like I do cross country. So if you say to somebody I do cross country, you probably race cross country. So when you race cross country, what's your goal? Maybe the Olympics, maybe UCI World Cup, or everything together, or the Cape Epic. I don't know. But there's like those paths. There's 2-3 different options you can do, and that's it. Or downhill, same thing. But when it comes to freeride, it connects everything. You can still ride freeride if you want on a road bike. it's still, like you're still riding, and you're doing something out of the ordinary, something that you wouldn't do on that type of bike, but you can still consider it freeriding. So yeah, it's hard because you don't have those. It's already hard to say I want to be a mountain bike rider for a living, because that's already out of the ordinary for a Swiss person. If you say I want to ride bikes for a living, my neighbors when I told my neighbors or my friends that I wanted to do this, that don't ride bikes, they all looked at me like, okay, so what you gonna do exactly? If you tell somebody I want to work in IT, they know, okay, cool, he's going to work with computers, so that's normal. I can accept that. But when they hear, if you say I want to be an athlete, that's a bit more plausible, a bit more real for them, but still they don't know how you're going to get there. To which athlete school are you going to go? Like, there's exactly. No path. Yeah.
Are you going to university for athlete?
Yeah. I'm a master athlete. Thank you. Vitor, I'm really glad you asked that question. What is freeride? First of all, it's my favorite term of mountain biking. I've been a freeride fan since the dawn of it. Second of all, it's because I wanted to pull back into the conversation to where we were talking about Freeride Fiesta, Huckfest, and Flat Out Days. To my knowledge, to my understanding, these are like these big jump competitions, but they're all like these giant flow lines, massive jumps, like moto style, right? And so, for the listeners out there who don't know exactly what that is, can you break down in general what that style of event is, and then maybe tell us what they all basically have in common, and maybe a little tidbit of what each one has like individual, or how they try to make that stand out from the other ones?
They try to build the courses the best they can. So that means in the end, if you can ride a bike, you can probably get over those jumps. If you can jump normal size jumps, you could get over them. You just need to have the speed, because they are normally not like super technical jumps. Those are not trails. Those are not like trail jumps. Those are just normally big, and you don't need to do anything in the air. If you take Flat Out Days, for example, you can do the whole course death grip. You don't have to brake before any jump. You don't have to pedal before any jump. You just have to ride it and feel the course, and it's just the best feeling ever. You're basically doing nothing besides getting big impacts, because the jumps are huge. The hip has, I think, on the smaller path, I think 23 meters in length, and then if you go to the farther outside, it's like something around 26 and a half meters you're jumping. So you're like in the air for a good 2.5 seconds. And all of them have the size in common. That's the only common point, because every terrain is different, every soil is different, the weather is different, the ramps are different. Some of them have wooden ramps, metal ramps, dirt to dirt lips. They have hips. Some don't have any hip in the course. Some have big drops, small drops, not even drops. So they try to build something special, and every event tackle or goes to a different approach. Some of them try to make it as big as possible. Some of them try to just build interesting looking jumps and a cool course that looks cool on camera and cool for photos. Some of them are good for tricks, so they go with a goal. They have the goal for the athletes to just do the most insane tricks on relatively big trick jumps. So it's hard to find like a common point on them besides the size. They just try to go big. I mean, if you take the event in South Africa, the Dark Fest, exactly. They had a 90-footer jump on the course. That was the biggest they had. And then Hardline built a 100-foot jump. So they're going for 105 or 110 this year, I think. I'm not quite sure if I'm allowed to say this, but they were telling this to everybody at Freeride Fiesta, so I don't think it's gonna be that bad. But yeah, so some of them just want to have like the biggest jump there is to break a record, or some of them just build like super perfect jumps where people can just have fun and are not like super safe because the jumps are huge still, but they're built so well that the chances of you jumping it wrong are pretty slim. If you're doing a trick or something, then maybe, yeah. But if you're just doing straight jumps, straight airs, if your bike's all right, if you're feeling good, yeah, you can just roll over them.
So it's kind of like they came to this intersection of like the biggest jumps possible for like humans on bicycles, and then it intersects with where they're able to like perfectly sculpt them, the takeoff and the landing, so you can either maintain or gain speed for the next series of like to continue on. They've kind of found that secret recipe there.
Yeah, so most of them have that in common, that you don't have to brake or pedal in between jumps if the conditions are right. If you take Freeride Fiesta, for example, the wind was a big problem, because sometimes you had headwind and then tailwind after 5 seconds, and then strong winds and then no wind. So every time people would jump the metal ramp, they would jump it differently, because it was almost impossible to do 2 runs exactly the same. But if you take flat out days in Slovenia, even with the wind, it was hard not to just go over the jumps, like land on the right spot and take off on the right spot. And they had wind guys, like people checking the wind, and if it was over a certain limit, they would just call it off. And then on the other hand, Freeride Fiesta was open the whole day for riding, so if you felt like riding, you could. And the soil was also a big problem, because it's almost like concrete. I have to shape this jump with water, then just let it bake in the sun for like 2-3 weeks. Nobody rides it; it just bakes there, and it just stays. And once it's hard enough, you can ride it, but the soil underneath, it's still dusty. So once that top layer breaks off, you're just riding a sand pit. So if you're on the right line, you're not gonna lose speed, but if you're off that line, you're gonna case even the metal ramp. So yeah, it was a bit gnarly on that side, but they can't do anything, because it's the conditions, it's the venue. It's like an open quarry with nothing around it, so they can't just put a bubble over it. So
You've written quite a few of these, and you've got pretty much the idea. Have you ever thought about making your own, Huck Day, or Swiss Huck Day?
I've thought about it, as well as I've thought of building something to train, something bigger, but it's just so hard to get something like that legal here in Switzerland. And I think that's the main problem why nobody does it. And if someone build something like this, they're just gonna leave it private and just ride for themselves, maybe invite some friends, because as soon as it gets out that it's dangerous, it's gonna take a week, and the police is gonna be there just to check, and they're gonna shut it down. And yeah, it's sad almost, but if I would do something like that, I would probably go to Brazil and do it in Brazil. Because it's just easier.
As soon as you said police, I was thinking, okay, now it's becoming free ride. It's a little bit outlaw.
Yeah, free ride, free yourself before you get caught.
Exactly. Yeah, but that would have been my question. I mean, I'm hearing like 30-meter jumps and huge speeds and all that sort of stuff. And I mean, how are you training for that stuff here in Switzerland, right? As say there's limited availability of spots to do that. Is it really only just gym work and training on small jumps, or what else are you doing?
Yeah, it's hard. Like, we don't have big jumps here. So
Well, the Grizzly line in Lenzerheide, come on.
that's the first bigger one to train on.
Shout out Flying Grizzly Bear.
Yeah, shout out. And it's even a mulch jump, so it's nice, but the spot where they build it, it's just too windy. So if I go from Basel to Lenzerheide to train, and then I get there and it's windy, it's just, yeah, I'd rather go to Chur, where they also have some big-ish jumps, like bigger than everything else we have in Switzerland, and some wooden jumps, which is also pretty cool. But if you want to train for those events, you just got to go outside of Switzerland and go to Austria, to France. Italy doesn't have much, but even Germany, they have some spots, but it's always like one big jump or two middle-sized jumps and a mulch jump in the end. It's never huge, But yeah, I train at Skills Park for tricks, and then I go to the mulch jump at the jump park in Zurich, and I just ride as much as I can because it's the bike feeling that's important on those jumps, not really the technique because they're built so well. You don't need, like I said, they're not technical jumps. It's more of the brain side of things. Like if you are feeling good, if you are feeling like you can do it, then you can most certainly do it. You just have to go to the events and ride.
But I mean, at the end of the day, it's pretty much a physics game, right? So I know that Nico Vink and these guys they use like speedometers on their bikes, and they know exactly the speed that they need to hit on the lip, that they clear the jumps, and that brings them to the next one, and all that sort of stuff. So are you using other tools as well to dial in your jumps and build your confidence for the jumps, or is it really just gut feeling and send it?
My human gyroscope. No, just gut feeling. You know when you're going the right speed, and I'm not a guinea pig. I used to be one. I love to hit jumps, be the first one to hit jumps and test them out and just do it. But I'm not that person anymore. I can't. I almost can't do them if I don't have anyone in front of me. So you just get someone you know the riding, their skills, their style, their speed, and just follow them into the jumps, and then you're most likely gonna be all right. I've also had professionals crashing in front of me that I knew the speed and it just happened. But normally they're so big that you can still like just land and then just miss them. I just go with the flow, and I follow the guys I know and just trust them. Because I mean, if I would have the speed from another guy, like the exact kilometer per hour, and have a speedometer on my bike, and then look at that screen before the jump, I'm another person. I'm heavier or lighter than them. I have another bike, another pressure, another shock, everything. There's so many variables. The gut feeling is the only one you can really, really trust.
And I guess I can figure out your suspension settings. All the compressions, zero rebound.
I think my fork setup at the moment 20 psi over maximum, all the tokens inside. If I would take the
shout out to the warranty department.
nobody knows it. If I would take the sheet, the Excel sheet to see like weight to psi or weight to bar, I would be like I think 140 or 130 kilos, and I weigh like 68. So yeah, I'm doing everything wrong from a suspension company's perspective.
All right. Well, but you mentioned it before, Brazil. So we didn't mention in your recent trip. We only mentioned Mexico, the Freeride Fiesta, but I do know a little birdie has told me that that trip was extended a little bit to go somewhere else. And you mentioned Brazil. And can you talk to us a little bit about what the story is with Brazil and your trip, and what happened while you were there?
Yes, for sure. So after Mexico, I went to Brazil for a film I wanted to do. I was born in Brazil and I moved to Switzerland when I was 14. So I basically grew up there, and I had never ridden mountain bikes or at least jumps in Brazil. My first ever experience on a mountain bike was in Brazil with my uncle. He used to ride cross country, and I went on a day ride with him. Almost died on that one, but that was like this little tiny little downhill section on the trail with some berms and a couple of like rollers. Nothing much, nothing heavy, but that feeling of going downhill without having to pedal and just just flowing, that was the thing that got me. And then shortly after that, we moved to Basel, and I knew I had to get a mountain bike, so I bought like a crappy hardtail with crappy parts. I had to fix something after every ride, but I rode that thing for almost a year or two, 1.5 maybe. And the first ever track that I rode was the Gampen North Trail, and I think you know that one.
Of course we do.
Yeah, it's
Legendary.
yeah, the blackberry and the or blueberry and the banana trail. Yeah, it was the bottom of the banana trail where the banana bridge is. My house or my parents' house is 7 minutes from there, so it's like it was a proper home trail for me, and that's what started it all. And back to the Brazil trip, we went for a movie. We wanted to do a short film from the riding scene in Brazil, because I've been back a couple of times, almost every year to visit family and to surf, but I had never brought I never brought my bike with me because it was too expensive, and this was the first time. I met some guys in Whistler that told me a couple of spots that I should ride, and the filmer from this trip, Guto, he was one of my best childhood friends. After I moved out of Brazil, he started riding mountain bikes. I started riding mountain bikes, and then I now do this for a living, and he films for a living. He films mountain bikes, so it was just perfect. I said, "Let's do it. Let's make a film together. Let's show the freeriding scene and a bit of my background and where I grew up, and let's do it." And then bikes, my main sponsor, they were pumped about it and said, "Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it, film together." And it's gonna be going up soon in the middle to beginning of March. It's gonna be coming out, and you can check it out on the Bikes Pink Bike side as well as their YouTube channel. And if you don't find them, you can just find it on my Instagram bio.
All right, sweet. We'll make sure to put all the links in the show notes as soon as it's out.
Must watch.
Must
Yes.
watch.
Cheers.
But let's talk a little bit more about Brazil, right? Because I mean, I've met a couple of riders from Brazil on different events, different races, and they've always been a good bunch to be around. And so yeah, I want to hear a little bit more about the riding scene in Brazil. What can you tell us about it? What is different to what we know?
It's completely different. It's another world. The same way that when you go to Whistler, you just experience another world of mountain biking, another side of everything. It's also like that, but not really in a positive way. It's a mixed scene. It's really complicated to explain. Brazil being a bit more not violent but dangerous than European countries and Canada. Um, Bikes tend to get stolen, so if you go on a big cross country ride, you have to know where you're going. You have to be with a bigger group. If you go on an enduro ride, the same thing. Free ride jumps. You don't find like open public tracks. You have to know the people and go to the private spots. But once you start getting into the community, you start to learn the people, and you get to know them, and they're going to open up and say you're welcome to come, and they're really warm. So they're not trying to get like keep mountain biking for themselves. That's not what they're trying to do when building private tracks. They're just trying to keep them alive and not be a dangerous place where people can go and ride. But in the other side, there's still a tiny side of the community that's jealous. Like other riders, when a rider gets good, the other people get jealous, and then instead of them supporting the good rider, so he rises and goes outside of Brazil, everyone's like kind of against each other. So it's a special, it's a strange community, but it's getting better. Like from what I heard from the people there and the locals, they all said like everyone the hate from the professionals is starting to go towards TikTokers. As funny as that sounds, it's helping the other professionals that do this in a way, so like they don't get as much hate, but still like the money flows to the TikTokers and not to the people that ride good. So it's a strange community. That's why you don't see like that many professionals from Brazil that live in Brazil. So if you take I don't know, there's like a Brazilian guy that lives in England, in the UK, and he races World Cups. He's not like on the top 10 World Cup riders, but he's also not slow. He's a good rider. He's a fast rider, but he doesn't live in Brazil. So if he would live in Brazil, it just wouldn't work. Or if I don't know if you guys have ever heard from Bernardo Cruz. He used to ride for Red Bull and GT. Also him, like there was like even a story where his bike got caught up on the customs border because it was a prototype, so they couldn't like tax him properly. So instead of giving the bike back to GT or just taxing something, they just kept the bike. So he never got the three new prototypes he should have gotten. Also, one of the reasons why he got off GT some years later, because then they said, "Well, look, we like you, we want you to keep riding for us, but either you go live in the US, we're gonna hook you up and do everything you need, or you keep on living in Brazil." So he chose Brazil, and then he's not riding for them anymore. So there's like also like those types of stuff. Like South America has some bad bad influences in riders, and not in a normal way, just by being a bad country for imported goods. And
How was it? Because you discovered your love for mountain biking in Switzerland, right? So kind of this big mountain country and big tradition of mountain biking. So how was it for you to go back to your to your homeland, to motherland, with your bike, with this vehicle that you learned to love abroad, and kind of rediscover your where you're from?
it was amazing, actually. I sadly didn't get to ride that much as we wanted to, because the weather conditions were pretty bad. We had a lot of rain, and from a 5-ish day project turned into a 2 weeks project, where we were just waiting for the rain to go down. And sometimes we would go to the venue or to the spot we wanted to film, and then we'd start filming, and then an hour later it would start pouring, and we couldn't do anything anymore and had to drive back. And the distances in Brazil are not the same as in Switzerland, so you often drive more than an hour just to go somewhere near for them. So yeah, so I couldn't ride that many trails, but I did get to ride two really cool like enduro downhill trails. Um, it's cool because the soil is so different. It's techy, but it's like this red soil that sometimes turns into black and then back to red, and it's almost like, if it looks like clay, but it feels like loam. It's interesting to ride and really cool. I loved riding there. And we went to this jump spot. They have a all natural jump spot for big bikes, uh, as well as dirt jumps, like for a dirt jumper, where they build everything out of dirt, and they have like this multiple lines, um, big step ups and tiny step ups, road gaps, hips over cars, like huge stuff as well. And it was really cool. Like we couldn't ride the big line because they were just rebuilding it, so we weren't able to do that. But the middle line was pretty cool, pretty rad to ride. Like they had a pretty cool trick jump, perfect for like just chilled backflips, chilled flat spins, and just like a good trickable jump that's still fun to ride and just do straight airs. And the community is still like the guys that I got to ride with, they were amazing. It was really cool, like to witness everything that I had only seen in videos or never seen before, and then with people I knew from my childhood, and it was a cool feeling. Yeah.
Sounds cool.
Yeah, but I have to go back. I like I said, I only saw like 2 trails from maybe 100, so there was I think that was one trail that would have been perfect for an enduro race, and I think you would have loved it because I know you've raced some EWS races.
Yep, I have.
And I think that one would have been cool because they were telling me like, yeah, there's some steep parts, there's some cool like natural drops and stuff that you can like. It's really cool when you ride it fast because then you feel the flow and everything. And I was like, yeah, okay, it's probably not gonna be something I've never seen before. And then I drop in and it was like really steep and really cool because you can just let it open and you're just going so fast in, and the forest there is not the same as we know in Switzerland. It's like it's dense. It's like you feel the speed because it's like two walls of just leaves and branches going left and right and you're just going super fast, and it was really cool. It was really cool.
Just in general, what region or area were you visiting?
I was in São Paulo, so like more of a big city. Could compare it to Zurich in bigger and more people and more skyscrapers. But just outside of São Paulo, there's a couple of little hills where they have some stuff, and yeah, it's cool. It was really, really cool.
Yeah, another place that's on my bucket list, Brazil.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they have some cool. They're getting better. They're starting to build like bike parks with shuttles, and they have like trail centers, big ones as well. But they're not like in Switzerland where we have like big trail building crews that do this for a living and they just go and build like huge tracks. They're all locals that work a 9 to 5 job and do this on the free time. So it's not professional, let's say, but it's natural, and that's also cool. I sometimes prefer natural trails to like perfectly flowy lines and
Yeah, you don't need to be doing it professional to be creative.
yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, naturally, we have mentioned him before, but we do need to ask if you are exchanging notes with the other Swiss Brazilian mountain bike guy about Brazilian desserts. Are you also a brigadeiro guy?
I knew that this one was coming. I loved Brigadeiro up until 6 months ago, but I have turned vegan since then because of some health issues I had, and this was the only thing that cured me basically. And now I have to search for some other options, but they have this amazing thing called goiabada. Uh, Goiabada is like a sweet candy bar looking thing. Like it's pretty dense. It's made out of guava. I don't know if you guys know it. It's like this fruit full of seeds inside, and it's red inside.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So it's like this red brick, and it's just amazing. Yeah, I would go with that at the moment because it's naturally vegan. They don't have anything besides sugar and the fruit inside. So I'd say that one.
Okay. All right. Well, hope you can keep the brigadeiros and you stick with the
Yes.
guava. Is there anything you want to add before we wrap up for the night?
No, but I wanted to thank you guys so much for this opportunity. It was really cool talking to you guys and seeing you guys for the first time, like with the voices that I've been hearing on Spotify. It's really cool.
Oh well, very welcome, very welcome. It has been fun so far, but we are not done yet. We haven't heard about that first bike that got you really stoked about riding bikes.
Ooh, this one has some history. Okay, so it was a white Kona Stinky Supreme. Of course, every every good mountain biker, or at least every mountain biker, had a Kona at some point in their life. I feel like
Absolutely.
I had a Kona coiler before that one, 2005 Kona coiler even, but the one that got me really stoked was this white Kona Stinky. It was Robin Schaub's old one that I bought off some other guy through the internet, and it turns out that it was James's
Yeah.
James's bike before that, and we built it out with some sick chromac parts, like old used parts from Robin, and a double crown, and it was just the best. I started racing on that bike. That was like the one that got me really stoked.
Nice. Shout out former guests James Drew, 5 times champion now of the
Five
Skits and
times.
Giggles, of the Skits and Giggles podcast, and Robin Schaub.
Yeah.
We need to find that guy who was in between.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't know anymore who it
We're
was.
gonna put him on the pod. If you're listening, let us know.
We'd love to
Yeah.
talk to you.
Yeah, you need to be in the continuum of that story. Anyhow,
But I know the guy that has it now. It's a friend of mine, and I told him when he wants to sell that bike, I'm buying it back.
right, and then we're putting him on the podcast.
Yeah.
All right. Well, imagine yourself as a bike magician extraordinaire, and with your magic drop a post, you can make riding a bike more awesome for anyone by the stroke of it. So, what would you do?
Okay, so I have two answers for that one. There's a plausible, a real answer, and then there's a dream answer. I'll start with the real one, the plausible one. I'd love to have litter-free trails, as well as a good ecosystem between riders, hikers, and animals. Because I feel like there's still a lot of people that just don't give a fuck, basically, and just do what they want and destroy trails. Don't look at hikers, or even like other natural freaks that just go on mountains walking barefoot. I don't know, but there's a lot of those. And just a cool ecosystem between everyone. And yeah, until to this day, even in Switzerland, I always find litter when I go riding. And I think between me and Robin Schaub, we can almost build up a bike from bike parts we found on the Arlesheim Trail in
Wow.
Basel. So there's like every time you go riding, if something breaks on your bike, it's laying around somewhere. So just search for it, pick it up, and take it with you, or take your cans with you. Anything, yeah.
Fully agree.
And then the dreamy answer would be unbreakable bike parts, because I break a lot of stuff. Yeah.
But it's part of the fun.
I know, but when you have to throw your bike on the air, what happens a lot when you're training for tricks, something will break, and then yeah, sometimes it's just not on a good time, and then you have to go find it, and yeah.
Okay.
I know you're in the air a lot, with your big air jumps, doing some tricks. But when you're on the ground and you're styling it out, what does the perfect skid look like?
Okay, so for me, the perfect skid would be a pre-hop into a tire blowout, 180 probable taco wheeled berm terminating roost. So it would just be destruction, and I would land on the ground. I still haven't managed to do one, but I want to, like, one day, just when I have a bad back wheel or one that's already untrue and it's not able to salvage, I just want to go all in and just destroy it. That would be like the one.
I can just see it. You blow it up, and then you high side the bike, and then all of a sudden the dust settles, and you're just standing there.
You just lay on your back with the bike in your hands, like, what am I?
Right on.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a good one.
Yeah.
I also have the record now that in 50 odd guests that we had on this podcast so far, you're the first one that has taking the time to actually spell out his answer for those quasar questions on a piece of paper. Thank you very much for this effort.
It's worth it.
It's
I just wanted them to imagine, like really imagine how
Yeah.
everything would look.
it
You know?
Description was
speaks.
perfect.
It speaks to the kind of person you are. I love
Oh,
it.
And to all the shapers and trail builders out there, it would be followed by a reshape of the berm so it looks good again. I wouldn't leave it behind.
What a scholar.
What a scholar.
And a gentleman.
Hats off.
Sweet. Well, with
Yeah.
that one, I would say we close it out for tonight. This was a ton of fun. Vitor, where
Likewise.
can our listeners find more information about you and about the upcoming video? And where can they find you?
Everything on my Instagram. I post all the updates there. It's vitor.buchli. I also have all the other socials, but I'm mostly active on Instagram.
Sweet. We'll also put that into show notes so people can find it. With that, we say thank you again. This was super fun, and I hope to see you soon out in the trails.
Hope to see you on the bike as well. Let's go riding.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Ciao.
Ciao, guys.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. We really hope you enjoyed this episode.
Pascal and I put a lot of heart and soul into this podcast, and it means a lot to us that you've listened to it. We'd also really appreciate if you shared it with the people that you know and care about. Until next time, Skigglers.